Yes, yes, people, back again. Black Eye TV in the house, bringing you another live show with my co-host Terry Riggs in the house. Another UK USA link-up show. Terry, talk to the people then. We there.
Yes, people. Loving you out there. You know, it's a special day, a special time, a special period. You know, at the end of the day, I've got 2.5 hours before I jump off because it's going to be my birthday.
Awesome.
That's what pins are about. We're exciting people. We bring the information, and we are all there for the people, by people. It's all about the African diaspora. But you know what? We've got a big topic today to talk about, and we've got the one big person. He's back again. He's going to give us a review on how he enjoyed himself in the UK. And you know, he's the one and only. It's the TC Carrier. But before we go ahead, really, give them the title of what it's about.
All right. Today's show is the universal law of gender behavior. Yeah, that's what we're going to be touching on later on in the show. But first of all, as Terry said, let's welcome Mr. TC Carrier to the audience again. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good. Much love, bro. Brother T, Brother Rich. Thank you and appreciate the invite.
Okay. If anyone can hear this thing that is clear, can you please tap in your number ones, please? Just say, yes, it's okay, it's fine, and we can continue.
So.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Brother Rich.
Well, we know, TC, you've been over here just recently, yeah, for the Kings and Queens book tour, promoting your book. So let's start off by go ahead and reminding the people what that was about and how you found it coming over here and your experiences.
Okay, thank you, Brother Rich. So yes, just got back, man. Just seemed like I was just there for the Kings and Queens book tour, promoted by Shazan and also author King Kevin. And this is the book that I was promoting, The Secret Science of Black Male and Female Sex. There for about 2 weeks. We hit about 10 different events. Really love the love that came out of London. Didn't know the conscious community was so strong there. You guys got a lot going on for you. Trying to bridge that gap between the US and the UK. To see me going back and forth with this bridge of knowledge, bridge of resources and information, and just tag team the struggle together as we move on and build our community and reclaim our rightful place in this world.
So how did you find the UK in general, like since you came over?
So the big thing that I noticed, right, and I only had a little sample size, so I could be a little romanticized about the UK, but there's a nigger mentality in the US because of our slave culture. So we have a crabs in a barrel mentality where there's only can be one at top and the rest of y'all got to fight for what you get. So there's this lower level consciousness of self-survival. In the UK, I saw so many resources that were shared amongst the community. So many Black restaurants, so many Black bookstores, so many Black venues, so on and so forth. Black TV and media and radio like yourself, sharing information, sharing product and resources within the community itself. So you guys are way ahead of the game when it comes to solidarity and working together to build the community. Again, because of our slave history here, we have this egotistical self-survival mode where there's only can be one at top and everyone else kind of has to suffer. So that was the big thing that I did not know about the UK, was the resources and also the mentality to be able to work together in the community and share resources so that you guys could come up together. And that was really, really refreshing to see that.
Now we know when you was doing the tour, you was presenting every time that you done an event. How did you find the questions? How did you find the probing from the UK audience when it came? Because we know from your book you deal with metaphysics, comedic science. So how did you feel when you was bouncing across those ideas and concepts with the Black community? Did you find they were susceptible to that? Do you find they were knowledgeable of it, or did you find it was a more it was a newer thing for most of the people?
You know what? Since this tour was basically, I was just one piece of the tour, the Kings and Queens book tour. So I was with two other authors that are not necessarily really deep into the conscious community, but more of the outskirts as well. So the audience was kind of a slice of different aspects of the community. You had the Christian aspect of it, hitters in the conscious community that understand metaphysics and so on. And then you had an in-between where they were just learning and just being exposed to the information. Different demographics. I felt that the book and the information was very vital. I think they were accepting of it, even though they may not understand it fully. No, the time is now for this information, for this consciousness to rise. So I really felt that they were ready to get the information and that they were in the room for a reason, that the universe brought them there to get this information so that we can transcend and keep moving forward and transform. So, and then the heavy hitters in the conscious community, if I should say so, also the information resonated with them. I have a way of presenting information that you may know the knowledge of that, but you may not look at it the way I look at it or the way I present it. So it may be consciousness 101 for those who are of, higher understanding, but to look at it differently and to plug this in, I think accepting and it was a good tour for me. So all love out there in the UK.
That's so. Where you hailing from, TC?
Right now living in Oakland, but I'm originally from Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
I'll just a quick one. I just, like in the background, we can see a couple bits and pieces in the background. What is that? What is that shop consist of, and what does it do?
Okay, so this was a shop that I built since 1997. And when I didn't want to do it anymore, I gave it to my son's mother. Now she owns the shop, and I just help her with the making product and so on and so forth. So just your basic shop, kind of like Unc Wellbeing. We have body oils. She has incense, body care products, all organic. Of course, my product is here as well. Just anything related to aromatherapy and body care on an Afrocentric point of view.
Do you have one of them?
Good shout out there.
Do you have one of them things available? The things you get, incense holders. Do you have one?
You know what? I just so happen to have one right there. Bam.
So, can you go towards the screen so people can see?
This is what I call a divine deity diffuser. So it's an incense burner that I make out of recycled vodka bottles. Myself, I add the crystals, the copper wiring, and the different spiritual themes to it. This one, of course, has an Afrocentric theme. So what you do, I drilled a hole right here. So this is where you put your incense in, and it burns upside down inside the bottle. So I drilled holes at the bottom. I don't know if you can see right here by my finger. Flow through, right? And then the smoke comes through the top.
Okay. So that would you say, would you put that on your altar?
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why I made it, is that we need to have communication with our ancestors, and the altar stands for alternate, or an alternative communication that the white man took from us. an alternative way because he could not communicate that way. So he said this is the only way you can communicate with the higher self or the creator. But this is an alternative way that we always had, and it's basically where our power is. So yes, this is the way to communicate. You got the copper up here, best conductor of electricity to help send your message, spiritual message to our ancestors.
Okay.
And I got a lot of other products
like
so I'm gonna be sending.
Yeah. So just have you got any other things to demonstrate? Because like as we have this thing called the USA UK link up, and we're trying to bring an economical system. So we go back into the forms of history and understanding the forms of trade. So we want to able to trade back and forth in what we have and what you have. So we create some economical power. So is there anything that you would like to portray or to offer to the general public that they can see?
Well, you should say that. Yeah, I have it right here. In fact, Brother Terry, I'm getting a package ready for you as we speak. I'm hoping to get it out by tomorrow that I started and revamped. It's called Supernatural. Basically, the motto is magic is the name for a law. Okay, so all the products that we have here, and I got some body care products that I'll show you, physical aspect to it. What is metaphysical? Meta simply means beyond physical, so beyond the physical dimension, which is where 99% of energy lies that we can't see, hear, touch, taste, or smell. So we always focus on the body and the external, but we never focus on the spiritual aspect. Products are geared towards spiritual enlightenment, spiritual warfare and protection, and they're all made with crystals, all made with the elements, everything that's geared towards protecting us and working our magic in this system that deems to keep us down. Here's one product. Let me see if I can get up here. It's called Aura Buffering Body Butter. Again, aura buffering, everyone has a light that they emit from them, from their body that you can't see. This is where you get where people are familiar with you for the first time and like, you know, I feel like I've known you, or you really click or have that connection because your auras are the same, where you just meet them and right away you step back and don't want anything to do with them. So this body butter made out of African products such as shea butter. We have coconut oil, we have mango butter, cocoa butter, jojoba oil, things of that nature, and it's always made with the with different crystals to use that and infuse that energy that came up with. And it's basically the metaphysical mist armor. And basically you spray this on before you leave the house, again, to protect you from outside forces that mean to do you harm. As you know, we are bombarded with all this energy, and we need to protect ourselves. And knowing is half the battle. Once you know your enemy and his to try to keep you at a lower place, now you can do something about it and protect yourself. This spray of witch hazel is made with selenite crystal. We have frankincense and myrrh, sage, palo santo. All these are spiritual cleansers throughout the world. We add some cinnamon in there to bring prosperity and abundance to you, so that when you leave the house, you protect it. I got one more right here. Hope you can read that. Okay, it's the Sacred Serum Body Wash. Again, made out of our indigenous products from Africa. Hope is the base. I add essential oils in there as well, also made with crystals to connect you to your higher self and also to your mate at the time, or to attract the right mate. So you wash with this body wash, as you say, an affirmation, and then you can start your day off knowing that you about to manifest your heart's desires. This is another thing that I make, and it's called Milky Way Magical Bath Soap. Out of is milk, oats, sea salt, Himalayan salt, this peppermint, and we add a rose quartz crystal in there. the vibration of love. So what happens at the end of the day? You have all this energy that's still attached to you, that's still trying to attack you. You throw this in your bath and soak in it, and it dissolves all those toxins, all that lower level energy, so that you can rest at night and get ready for another day. It's awesome, as well as a exfoliate and a moisturizer. And I'll show you one more. And it's my botanical body elixir, to be used as a body oil or a massage oil. It's excellent for moisturizing the body, and again, protecting that which is sacred to us as well. And that's made with we got sweet almond oil, avocado oil, what else I put in there, some coconut oil, and jojoba oil. So those are a few products that I'm gonna send to Brother Terry. You want to get the information on them, you want to purchase them, you can go through him. And I also have a website, Naturally, just like it sounds, upa.com, and you can also order on there as long as my books as well.
Okay. So what are you thinking, Brother Rich? Looking to watch yourself in some of them products?
Yeah, I might cop some of that massage oil. You get me? I got that.
Yeah, for them aches and pains.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, as always, USA link up people. Yeah, this is what we do: bring an economic platform for people to highlight their products. And again, Terry, what's the address of the shops? Do you want to go through the shop?
Okay, so basically, if you're in Shepherd's Bush or in the West London area, you have what we call Sister Ivy in the Anquo Bean. 10 a day grow, Shepherd's Bush, West London. Make sure you go there, make sure you shop, make sure you get any, because her shop is an amazing shop. Then you've got the Basil at Pampanzi on the Brixton Hill 102. Check him out, he will have all the products, you name it, he has it. Then you have what we call Netta Vital, which is in Station Road, under the bridge near the Brixton station. Check out Mr. Neb, very good job, got the artifacts, got all the products, got all the books. Check him out once again. Then you've got, who else can we say? There is a few more shops that I have to list out for you. But while we're going through this show, I will bring up them up. And then there is quite a lot of other products that are coming to be available, because the Black Ice stores will be opening soon.
Yes, watch this space.
And we've got 2 more websites coming as well. So we have the community site, we have the streaming site, because we're getting this economic system right to the T, so that we can uplift ourselves in the African diaspora. We can buy our plane to take back to Africa. As Marcus Garvey says, we need to go home.
No doubt, no doubt. And let me take this point in time as well to shout out my fellow black media doing their thing out here. Big up to our brethren Calamel, Titans TV, doing his thing every time. Big up to Content Over Everything, making big moves over there in the gang corner. Yeah, big up to Respect, Jedi TV, yeah, Sarnetta, Bubba TV. Yeah, you need to support black media. You need to support.
Yeah, and don't forget our brother from another mother, as he's become one of our strong team.
HMP TV, is that you talking about?
Of course, of course. That's
no doubt. Big him up, big him up.
As we went down the school this week, where they were talking about not accepting child with dreadlocks, which we need to go on a topic about that, because that is a thing where you can see that they're trying to block our kids from even going to school just because of their hair. But we're not going to even take it on a racial thing. We're going to go and take it on the form of uniform. Do you understand? So understanding the procedures that they didn't follow the protocols of uniform, because what they had for someone else was different from what they had for the guy with the dreadlocks, which was very disgraceful. But we're going to go on that topic, and then HMP did a wonderful recording on that day, which we will be putting up on our page as well. So because we share each other's footage and information together, because we're one big media family.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Information must for share. Yeah, understand this. This isn't a Harbour Shark business. Yeah, this isn't making music videos now. This is information for the black community. This is positive affirmations that we're trying to do here. So again, it's a link up thing at every which turn. So again, support black media out there, get our narrative out there. So
yeah, and let me just mention one quick point. If you know of any atrocities or any problems or any forms of situation or anything that you need to discuss, Black Eyes TV 7 is open to everything. So if you've got something that needs to be discussed or needs to be filmed, give us a call on blackeyestv@gmail.com. I repeat, blackeyestv7@gmail.com.
That's right.
Email us and we will be there. If it's not us, one of the teams will be there. So we will document it and put it up because it's to move forward. So Bridge, push away.
And you know what? Before I even jump into the show, one more shout out. Big up to Reds. Big up to Free Souls TV. Go and check out Heart Thou Spirit documentary out. Free Souls TV YouTube channel. One of the Black Eyes TV team members, Reds, big him up every time, yeah? So, now that we've got all of that out of the way, back to our guest, TC. We know that when you came over and your book obviously deals with the gender roles and the coming together of the male and the females. And within that dynamic, obviously there's certain traits, there's ways of being that best complement each other on the male and female stage. So first of all, let's start to touch on some of those pointers, you know, because again, when you came over, it was the Kings and Queens tour, and the idea was to get our people back to that mind state of, you know, thinking highly of themselves and treating each other highly. So talk about some of the aspects that best work when it comes to nation building for the community at large and, you know, in relationships and families.
Okay. We need to first start off with history, because the way we are now is not the way we were when we were functioning at our highest level, the most advanced people in the world, teaching the world humanity, architecture, engineering, spirituality, how to be humane. So we need to understand that what we see now is not the reality. So we got to remember there was a time where it was just black people on the planet. I know Public Enemy had an album called Fear of a Black Planet. There used to be a black planet with nothing but black folks on it for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. It's only since about 9,000 to 12,000 years that this white man has came on the scene. We'll say 9 to 12,000 years, he shows up. And there's a lot of theories about how he got here, but we won't go into that. He's here. And it's only within 2,000 years that he has been able to rule and put out white supremacy. Just mind you, hundreds of thousands, not millions of years, we already had an African spiritual system in place that we based on how we view ourselves and the environment around us. So now, 2,000 years, right, is his rule, the white man's rule. And it's under white supremacy, which makes him basically God. He now is the standard for success, the standard for beauty, the standard for spirituality. He is God. When you see an image of God, you think of a white man. Everything is now according to his standards, which happens to be the exact opposite of way our ancestors view ourselves and our reality. Script on us, okay? So now we living in this time where the world has literally been turned upside down. I always like to go back to Kemet. And there's a reason why they said upper Kemet was and lower Kemet was up here. That's because with the white man's rule, he flipped the world literally upside down. That's why people don't realize that. So now right is left, left is right, up is down, down is up, black is white, white is black. Is all totally turned upside down. And this is what we need to understand. Now, 2,000 years white man rule. The U.S. now is in power. The U.S., the white man sets policy for the world. The U.S., America is like little over 200 years old. Just that. It's a baby when it comes to, it's not even a baby. It's like a fetus when it comes to the black man's rule and how we've been here. So now we going with this 200-year-old view on reality, and we are taking and we are internalizing it as truth, right? So this is what we need to go back to. We need to go back to the African spiritual systems before he wasn't even on the scene, and how our ancestors view ourselves and our world, so that we can go back to the advanced stages of humanity, science, and everything else that we were. So Kemet is the place. I don't care if you call yourself a Hebrew Israelite. I don't care if you call yourself a Moor. I don't care, Nuwapian. I don't care. You're going to have to go to Kemet. So why even play around with it? You go to Kemet, you find out what it is, and then you extend and you find out, well, I want to do this aspect of Kemet, and I want to do this aspect of Kemet. But it all starts there. I think I know where we need to be, and we need to go.
Definitely.
Got you. Now,
so you want me to continue with what's in Kemet?
Yeah, we want to go there because we want besides that, and learn the history, and because we'll go through procedures, because we want to even go into some conscious mind as well, unconscious mind. So let's go through that chemical now, and then work it up. Okay,
great. Because remember, we got to build a foundation. When you talk about communication, right? You're talking about commune with the nation, right? So commune is to be able to communicate at a higher spiritual level, more advanced. And then you have community, which is commune, right? And then unity, which is the one. So you need to have one system of understanding and understanding that you base your reality on, and that has to come from this African spiritual mystery system, which is the basis for everything. To what they say about who we are and the environment that we live in. Okay, so I know me and Brother Terry was talking about when I was with you, you had the Kaibalan book. Right, which had the 7 universal laws and principles. Okay, and supposedly this book was from initiates, and it got out by mistake from the secret society, and they put out this this hermetic text based on ancient Kemet. Okay, so they came to having 7 principles or universal laws of nature that run the world. Mind you, our ancestors had no separate word for God and nature, right? So nature was God and God was nature. So if you wanted to get closer to God, you better know how nature works. Closer to nature, that's how you knew God. Okay? So that's profound in itself, that there was no difference between nature and God. So you are living in nature, you can go out and that's where you see God. You see God in everything. So what were these 7 principles? These 7 principles were all, from my understanding, are all aspects of the one law. I have found that there is only one universal law and principle that holds the universe in balance of harmony. And that law is the law of gender. The law of gender states that all energy is either masculine, which means just to give out energy, or feminine, which means to receive energy. Okay? And it's these two energies, masculine and feminine, that work in this delicate balance that keeps things in harmony. Okay? So is everything, because all systems on this planet evolve around the principle of gender. Everything is having sex. Okay? So that's where I'm coming with it. So you say there's only one law. TC, why you say there's only one law, and that's the law of gender? Because when you look at the Kybalion, it had first principle is all is the mind, which means that everything that is manifested starts with a thought, and then it manifests into the physical dimension. This is gender. A thought, right, in the spiritual realm, the unseen realm, is the feminine principle. And when you manifest into the physical, right, that is the masculine principle. Okay, so it all starts from the unseen realm, which is the feminine principle, and then it manifests in the world, in the physical, a lower vibration, which is masculine. Okay, so that law practices the law of gender. Then we have the law of polarity, which states that everything is either positive or negative. Okay, so what does that mean? Positive means to give out energy. Well, didn't we just say that was what masculine is? And negative means to receive energy. Didn't we just say that that's what feminine is? So the law of polarity is really the law of gender. Then we get into the law of duality, right? To have a black, there has to be a white. To have an up, there must be a down, and so on. To be inner, there must be an outer. Genders, the inner is the feminine, the outer is the masculine. The left is the feminine, the right is the masculine. The up is the feminine, and the down is the masculine. Again, it's an expression of the law of gender. Then we get into rhythm, right? So all rhythms are vibrations at a high vibration or a low vibration. Well, guess what that is? That's gender. High vibration, high frequency is always feminine. Low frequency, low vibration is masculine. Again, another aspect of the one law of gender. Cause and effect, right? For every cause, there's an effect. Okay, so a cause is masculine, and the effect of that cause is the feminine. So all this war on gender neutral and homosexuality and LGBT and all this other community act like this is not important, that you can be gender neutral. Are you serious? I mean, in a world where this law holds everything together, to think that you can just throw that away and it doesn't matter is ridiculous. So when you look at it, even from a scientific level, from the atom, right? And we'll say the first, the element on the periodical table is hydrogen. And we can thank Dr. Oyibo with the Gaga theory to point out that there is only one element, and that is hydrogen. And everything else is just an expression of that by taking away protons or adding electrons. So the hydrogen atom is one proton, which is positive, which is the masculine principle. And you have one electron, which is feminine, which is the feminine principle, that revolves around the proton. This is the basic building block of anything in the material world. It has to start with this. Okay, so what happens? So the masculine proton gives out energy out in the ethers. The electron likes that energy and is attracted to that masculine energy. And it'll reflect back the energy back to the proton and then create the reality of the two working in harmony together, circumference of their reality and what they can achieve. That's it. That's the basic building block of everything in life. So to say that this is not important, that God is not important. So this is where we're going with it, and we can even get deeper. Let me show you something I was doodling a little earlier. We all know this sign, right? Okay. So this is the sign on how you can turn on computers, electronics, so on and so forth. You have again, right here is the masculine principle. That's the phallus. And then you have the electron, or the feminine principle, revolving around it. See that? So when you push that button, that creates your simulation. That creates life. Upside down. As you see in the cover of my book, the feminine is always on top, as we discuss. The feminine needs to be on top. But you see the white man, he puts the man on top. He flipped the script. Remember, he turned the world upside down. And this is called the missionary position, with the man on top. Which, if you look up what missionary really means, it means to subject and suppress someone with your own doctrine, you know, to oppress them. This is what the sign really comes from. Who study Kemet, it's really the Ankh, which is called the key of life. The key of life, the feminine principle in harmony with the masculine principle. And you see, feminine is always on top. She's the higher vibration. She creates the reality. And we need the man to be at the foundation with his integrity and his character, what she needs to create the reality. That is the key of life. Okay? But you see how he's turned it upside down now and has created a system based on not God, but the opposite of that is lower level energy, beast, whatever you want to call it.
And again, let me just add there to the people that are listening. Yeah, my brother's just kicking a nice piece of string theory there, and this is again what I love about the Kemetic science way. It starts from the smallest to the biggest, and you're included in that scale, and everything in that microcosm world is reflected beautifully in ours. You know, the same relationships he just talked about in those realms of you know, of energies and whatever is reflected in our relationships. But yeah, I just you know, I love it. Continue to build, my brother.
Yeah, but you know what, I just wanted to see what I wanted to talk about, right?
Easy, Riggsy, is that your face?
Yeah, my face. You know what I mean? It's 2 hours to it's 2 hours to launch off.
That's true.
I'm gonna be 1 year younger.
Easy.
Yeah. So what I wanted to break down, because you know, like we've talked about it in written content, but I want you to kind of demonstrate that in a conscious and subconscious mind, because you know, like when certain people can't ingest new information, they put a blockage to it. So I want you to kind of demonstrate how our mind works in the form of what we take in on the forms of the environment, and what makes us choose or to go into certain directions.
Okay, so we'll break down this law even more, where it's easily understood. This is not just theory. You can practice this every day. The fact that we're having this conversation is the law of gender, right? Someone speaking is masculine. Someone hearing or listening, that's feminine. So everything practices this law. Okay, the digestive system that we have, right? Receiving food is feminine, and then the excrement that we give out is masculine. Okay, breathing, inhaling, receiving energy, right? That's feminine, and then exhaling, that's masculine. Everything practices this law, and when you start to see it around you, you can start to understand and understand that it's not important, it's everything. It's everything. You go to court in the judicial system, you have a defendant, and you have what do you have on the other side? I'm losing my mind. the defendant and the prosecutor, right? Yeah. So the prosecutor is the one accusing you, giving out instructions, and the defendant is receiving that, right? So again, a masculine and feminine principle. And this is what Ma'at in Kemet represents. She holds the scales of life. So she decides whether in one scale she has your heart, right? And then the other scale is her feather. It's always standing up. It's always erect. And feathers or birds in Kemet always represent masculine energy, logic. Tahuti, ooh, courage under duress. The Bennu bird, transformation. So they always represent the masculine principle. The heart, as we know, is the first level of higher consciousness, the heart chakra, where love prevails. That's feminine. So there's this steady balance of this masculine and feminine energy, which creates harmony not only within you, but the universe that decides whether you go to heaven. And heaven is a state of mind. It's a state of consciousness where all is well in peace and harmony. And it has to have the balance of the two principles to have that. So anything you do in life, you have to have that. The circulatory system, right? The blood pumps, the heart pumps oxygen into the blood. It receives it, that's feminine, and then it gives out to the body the oxygen by going through the body. That's masculine, giving out. Okay. What else? The nervous system, right? So you send signals to your brain if you touch a hot stove and the stove is hot, that those nerves will send a message to your brain that this is hot, right? And then the brain will give instruction, will take your hand off the stove. So again, there's always this masculine and feminine principle going on. Even in computers, right? They say that this universe is based or built on computer simulation. It's the same concept of a computer simulation as it is in quantum physics, the makeup of the universe. And what is a computer simulation or the computer based on? The language is the binary code. The binary code, right, is all ones, masculine, and zeros, feminine, right? One meaning yes, feminine meaning no. When you ask the computer a question, it'll go through this, in milliseconds, yes, to get you to where you want to go or to create the reality that you want. So like even on the basic concept,
like a light switch.
Definitely. That's what it is. That's what creates everything. You have to have that masculine and feminine principle working in balance in unison in order to have life, period. So that is not my doctrine. It's not my belief or my cultural understanding. It's not my religious belief. It's science, and any scientist will tell you this. And it should be taught in schools, right? If you knew what this was about, then, well, I guess that we know why it's not taught in schools, but we need to go back and reclaim our history, our sciences, when we once ruled the world at the highest level that they don't even know how we did it.
Yeah. So, like when you get some people that believe, like you get a male person that will say that he believes that he was born a female, or you get a female that believes that they were born a male. What do you think is going on there in the science point of view?
All right, so again, let's go back to who's running the world. Remember, the white man has turned the world upside down under his system of white supremacy. It controls politics, controls economics, controls the history, it controls everything. So we have two things of homosexuality, and we're going to be specific within the black community, okay? Because we are homosexual for different reasons than white people are. And we need to understand that, because black homosexuals will make the homosexual agenda even more important than their own race. And that's how far backwards everything is. So let's look at it. So there's two things with homosexuality within the black community. We talk about nature. I was born this way. This is how God made me. And then we talk about versus nurture, which is my environment was conducive where I am a product of my environment. So you have those two things. So the first thing you said, Brother Terry, was I was born this way. Understand whether it's nature or nurture, You are a product of white supremacy, right? So what do you mean by that? I was born this way. This is what I'm trying to get. You were born this way. Let's say you were, granted. When we look at the law of gender, it tells me that masculine is male, feminine is female. Okay? So if you say I was a male, but I was born a woman, I was born male. Let's go there first. You're telling me that there was a defect in you, and that's something as a deformity, right? Just as someone who's born with 3 toes, or someone born with autism, or someone that's born with a genetic dysfunction that you can't see. Who's to say a hormonal imbalance is not a birth defect that causes a homosexual behavior, right? So the fact that it's not labeled as that suggests in a white supremacy world that it's used as a tool to destroy and to cause havoc and miscommunication in our community. Okay, because we all had the uncle, we all had the cousin that dressed like a girl, that played with dolls, that switched, you know, and we accepted into the family, but we knew, you know, so we just need to label that as being special. Even trying to change, but understand that this person is working with a system that is not according to the law of gender, according to nature. And because of that, we'll accept him into the human family, but we won't say his behavior is okay.
And that's the thing. Let me answer this. Like, again, when you're talking about the difference between white people and black people, and we had a conversation about this before, this gay thing and chemical imbalance versus obviously the blatant promotion of the lifestyle, the acts, and all the rest of it. Again, go into how the differences that you observe within the black community. And also you touched on something when we did speak, which I want you to go into, about when it's rampant in a society, it always marks the ending of that society. Go into that afterwards as well, because we talked and you mentioned it and it was interesting to me. But yeah, go.
Okay, so let's start with homosexuality as it pertains to the black community. Remember, we have a history of slavery and oppression that used sex as a means of control, as a means of humiliation, as a means of oppression. What happened was they took the strongest leader, someone like Brother Terry, 6'3", 250, could speak, could lead the family, right? And what they would do was they would single him out, strip him butt naked, all the community to see, this is your strongest, this is your baddest, this is your leader. They strapped him face down on the ground, staked both his hands above his head on the ground so he couldn't move, and staked both legs, ankles on the ground, compromised him in front of everybody. Everybody. And remember, in Africa, there was no such thing as homosexuality. It didn't even exist. So can you imagine the trauma to see your leader, your hero, being raped by this white man that you didn't even have no idea a human is even capable of this type of behavior? Have that trauma within us as well. And as you know, children who have been molested as young people, they carry a genetic information of trauma with them in their cells, in their genes, and they create a place in their mind that they go to during this trauma as a means of trying to protect themselves. Right? So what happens is what is not expressed is genetically, this is passed on generation after generation. Right? So black men today still experience the trauma of a white man raping us right? That still is prevalent today, and we wonder why we don't rise up against him. Why we talk bad, but when he come around, we bow our heads and we do all this. That's because there's trauma. We less than 150 years up from slavery. That's it. That's not that too far, you know, in our past. So understand that with that trauma, also with homosexuality for men, right? You are not a threat if you are a black man and you are homosexual. Let's just say you are less than a threat, because you're not going to protect your community. You're not going to provide for your community, and you're not going to produce people. So he kind of lets you have a pass. And for those homosexual black men, it's kind of a burden take off of them. Like, man, I'm not responsible for the black woman. I'm not responsible for the black children or the community. And I can kind of live my life on the outskirts of the black community as a homosexual, not as a black man. So a lot of men go that route. A lot of men do, just to escape white supremacy in general. I brought up in the homosexual community is that they get a lot of people that were molested as children. They don't want to bring that up. Boy that was molested by their uncle, right? But then psychologically was guilty because he may have learned to like the experience. I know that sounds crazy, but there's a lot of children that were molested that are battling with this, but I liked it, you know, and having to deal with this information, but it was wrong, but it felt good, but he told me up. So they got all this mixed stuff going on. So now they're adults and they go back to that type of lifestyle because that's what they were basically turned out, for lack of a better word, and go into this community without ever knowing who they were, without ever having any information on what is true intimacy between.
And again, you know, just to put this out there that people mostly should know, there's something called Stockholm Syndrome, which, as the brother was mentioning, deals with falling in love with your captor. Even after abuse and torture, you then develop feelings and attachment for the very person that's been oppressing you. So, you know, and this is a clinical expression. This isn't something we're just making up. This is something out there. And again, it's funny to me when these terms, medical, clinical terms, are used in regards to so many other areas. But when we talk about the relationship between things like homosexuality, and you know, the past and these atrocities that's happened, suddenly there's a whole load of people that don't make the connection, that suddenly forget this clinical analysis that is clearly real and happens, the same as genetic trauma. You know, it just makes me laugh. Again, there's no connectivity when we get to these subject matters, and obviously we know why, because it goes against the unification of the nation, which again is a gender specific thing. You need both to do that, you know, to create the circuit, as we've talked about. So so I just want to put a twist on it, because I just you just touched on some of when we were talking about the abuse, and you know, like in the same breath as the young women are getting abused by their uncle and their aunties and whatsoever, in that same format, is it the same kind of, because we know that the white man has suppressed the black man to doing what he has to do in that format, what do you think of on the perceive of the male doing the same thing to the woman counterpart, especially at a young girl's age?
So we're talking about young girl being molested by a man?
Yeah, by a man.
Okay. You know what, bro? I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, that's a whole nother topic about child molestation within the black community. Unfortunately, is prevalent now. It didn't used to be. Again, we had no such things happening when we were in our right mind and left alone to be and do what we want. This never was a topic. It never came up. It was never even a thought. But the fact that it is now, we must realize where it comes from. That is not us, that our world has been turned upside down, and now we are forced to participate in this nonsense. So I was talking to a sister the other day, and I was saying, you know what, 80% of sisters that I've had a serious relationship with were sexually abused in one way or another. 80%, that's 8 out of 10 women. Is that it's taxing on me because I know that kind of sounds selfish, but what I mean by there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of pain, and these sisters don't know what to do with it. So when a man comes along that is not trying to take from them, that is not trying to use them, that is not trying to abuse them, that sees them at their best, that is investing in them and believes in them, I have to deal with the trauma and pain that was inflicted on them from all those men that did them wrong. And I'm reaching an age right now where I would love to work with sisters that I want to build with, but it's getting to a point where it's going to take a lot of time and energy. At this age in my life, I'm not willing to invest because there's so much hurt, there's so much pain, there's so much trauma that has been done, and it just affects our relationships in general. So I always look at black relationships, right? Not just putting it on a female. Men is just as jacked up. It's like me coming to a relationship with a broken leg, and she has a broken back, right? And then we're trying to help each other, right? But when my pain kicks in, forget her. I'm focused on this pain. And when her pain kicks in, forget him. And it's all about her pain. So two people can't have a healthy, sustainable relationship if we have both been hurt and we both have not been able to deal with it properly and heal. You're not going to heal another person unless you heal yourself first. So this is kind of the dynamics of the black community in our relationships. Two people who are hurt, who are in pain, who have not healed. And now you throw in the gender aspect of it. When now she's in competition for my masculinity, and now I'm in competition for her femininity, it's a wonder we still walking around and to be able to exist.
Yeah, so then knocking that back to the situation of the young black men getting abused. On that perspective, now we've seen that most of the time of the time on the times of slavery that there was a lot of youth, and then to look into even the forms of as we call it, the Roman Catholic Church, and we've been hearing a lot of these guys suppressing these young boys. In your perspective, the mindset of the child, how do you reckon that they could able to deal with that in the comedic science point of view?
Okay, bro. First of all, I worked in juvenile hall for over 10 years as a counselor, and it's always the biggest, baddest, loudest, toughest boy in the hall. When you look at their records, they're the ones that were molested and sexually abused. It seems like once your manhood was taken from you at a young age, you trying to prove yourself and to everyone else that you're still a man by going out and being as egotistical, being as angry, being as forceful as you can to try to find some semblance of your manhood back. And it was always the toughest one. It was always the one that was screaming the loudest, the bully, the whatever. So it is a big, big issue within our community, and black boys not having the father and then not having the information or the avenue to deal with these traumatic issues that we have, so we lash out. So one big thing that I saw that they did, because if you was molested as a child, chances are you're going to molest a child. And I always wondered, why would you do that if you know the pain and hurt that you inflicted? And then it finally hit me. It was like, they want to experience the power that was taken from them by the one who victimized them. So to do that, you need to do to somebody what was done to you, just to get up the power and the feeling that I can overcome this and somehow get my manhood back. And I know that's is very dysfunctional and it is a vicious cycle, but it needs to be addressed, right? It needs to be out in the open. And a lot of sisters don't know that you're dealing with a brother and vice versa that has these traumatic issues that they never dealt with, that they have suppressed. Now in a relationship, and you do something that triggers it, and then now all of a sudden, you know, you get that ghetto relationship. So how can we, in a comedic aspect, how can we deal with this? We'll stick with the law of gender, right? Because that's the only law.
That's so.
We have everyone is born a twin. Okay? So everyone has a higher self, which is their spiritual self. Person or being, you having a human experience in your body, and that is feminine. That's the feminine aspect of you. Then everyone has a lower self, right? Which is your physical being, defining yourself by what you can see, touch, hear, taste, and smell. It's your ego, right? And it's a physical being that has spiritual moments. Okay, so the lower self, the physical, is only interested in self-survival, interested in clothing, transportation, avoiding pain, and avoiding danger. That's all their world is about. And that's the ego in us. Okay? So when we have experiences here on this earth, we have to realize that we conscious decision to be here in the spiritual realm to experience whatever we're going through, so that we can raise our vibration by learning our lesson here in this physical dimension, so that we can transcend when we cross over. So we all signed up for that. We all picked our parents with all their insecurities, everything that's going on, all the genetic information that's being passed on, both good and bad, because we knew that it was the most conducive for us to learn our life lesson, overcome our life lesson, so that we can move on in the spiritual realm. So as a means of trying to overcome that, accept the experience, define yourself as a spiritual being and not your physical body, because that was done to your body. That wasn't done to your spirit, right? Humble yourself, open your heart to deal with that. Know what it did, know how you feel about it, express those feelings, and understand no one can take away the spiritual aspect of yourself. What happened to you was supposed to happen so that you would be put in a position where the mirror would be held in front of you, so that you can correct whatever is keeping you from transcending in other dimensions. So everything in Kemet was about suppressing the ego. Everything in Kemet was about living a spiritual, high vibration life. Ego, which is the physical aspect of self.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna, as I was going through, have a little break where T can drink a little bit more water. But what I'm trying to show people now is that we've got intact with a guy called Paul and Wenger and Anthony Browder, which they've come up with what we call a timeline. Now we've got these on sale with the Black Eyes TV. All you have to do is inbox me, Terry Riggs, or send an email or give us a call. Our email is blackeyestv7@gmail.com. So you can see the timeline of all your ancestors all the way through. As you can see,
hold that still.
I'm trying to. I'm just going through the dates. I'm going through the dates. There's a lot here, mate. It's very, very long. So it's showing you how much history you have.
That's so.
It goes on and on and on and on and on. As you can see, it goes all the way. As you can see, continue going further and further as I'm trying to work it as much as possible to all the way to all the recent ancestors. And if you want to see something, it's funny enough, out of all the things that I've shown you, the only sector which is the smallest sector is here. This much. Which is slavery.
Right.
Which they try to say is our history. That much.
Speak on it.
Of the whole scroll that we just shown you. Showing you that we have a long history. Of when we talk about Kemetic science, it goes beyond that. And understanding what your ancestors have offered and given to you. Because this is your history. So if you are interested in this timeline, just inbox us or give me a call on 07930 143 228. And one scroll will be in your house. Because every child should have one. Put it this way, every household should have one.
That's it. That's it. Can we all just look it in the house? Yeah.
So there is no more debating, no more arguments. Someone asks you a question, you just go straight to the scroll, and the scroll will give you your details to where you can research and get your information right.
That's all. Spot that.
Right. Yes. So I just needed to get that out there for the general public. So this is the scroll. That's how big it is.
And remember, people, yeah, Anthony Broder, you can see Anthony Broder going around the British Museum with me and Mr. Riggs, chopping up some information, giving us the lowdown on some Kemetic artifacts and pieces. Yeah, so go and look at that. Because trust me, that was a privileged look into the mind of one of our top scholars, yeah, doing these things. So yeah, definitely.
And even put a manual for you to able to go through the timeline. So it's the best way to study and able to get your books. So when you read into T.C. Carrier's book, you know where it comes from.
That's right.
That's it. Start to place facts in the right place.
Because one thing you're going to understand is everything is a form of a repeat. Understand that everything has been done already. The only difference is from then and now is what we call upgrade, which is done by technology, but it's all coming from the main blueprint.
Us. Yeah.
Thank you.
The black male, the black female. Yeah. Understand this position. So
from that mental brain.
Yeah. So going back to the show. Thank you everyone who's been watching so far. Yeah, it's another UK USA link up show. The Universal Law of Gender. And we've been talking with our brother T.C. Carrier from the States, author. Remind me of the exact title again of the main book of the moment. T?
Yeah. Here we go. The Secret Science of Black Male and Female Sex.
That's so.
Let me See that.
And if you want a copy, hit me up. And you'll get your copy straight delivered to your house. All you have to do is inbox blackiceptv7@gmail.com or give me a call or hit me up on Mr. Riggs, Terry Mr. Riggs on Facebook. And I will send you or deliver your book to you. A fantastic book. A book to open up your mind.
And especially as well, go to the website, go to the YouTube page right now, and you can see our very own TC Carrier talking about the book on the Kings and Queens book tour. So there is footage up there. Plus, there's an extensive sit-down chat with Mr. Riggs on the Black Eyes TV sofa, and he's going in again on the book, the laws of gender, the relationship scopes, what we should be looking for, and how best to attain it and to maintain during a relationship. Most important.
And you know, we have to big up our UK counterpart, who has introduced us to TC Carrier, the one that they call the Lady Shazam, because we can't leave her out. She's always there. She had a wonderful exhibition earlier on today. She's got her artwork. She's got her book. Do you know what the name of her book's called again?
Journey of a Sister.
Journey of a Sister. Make sure you copy that book, because that's a book that all sisters need to read as a beginning start, you know, into this journey of life, because life is for living.
So
let's get back into the gems, because people are needing them gems. TC, as you were showing us some of this fantastic information in the book, and what the perspective of what we've been talking about, what can you relate from your book, knowing of your book, to what we have been talking about on this mindset behavior?
Okay, so let's go back. Like I said, everything is sex, everything is law of gender. Without the balance of masculine and feminine energy, we won't be able to have healthy relationships. That's financial, that's nutritional, that's with each other, that's spiritual. So you must have this balance of masculine and feminine energy to sustain and have any type of relationship that you want in anything. Let me go over a few things with you and how we can further understand this and apply it to our everyday lives, because I don't want to be speaking above people and trying to sound smart. I want this stuff to be practical. I want this stuff to be one-on-one basis where you can take it and you can start seeing the law of gender in everything you do. This is the basic principle or foundation of life. As you know, the so-called Jews took this symbol, which is really called the Sephidet, called the Seal of Solomon and the Star of David, but it's really the Sephidet from our ancestors, where you have the blue right side of triangle. That's the masculine principle. And you have the upside down green triangle, which is the feminine. And when they come together in harmony and balance, they create a six-sided figure in here, the hexagon. And this is where you get hex or sex or six-sided figure, which is the six, the mark of the beast, which is really the six, is really the, if you look at it, it's the fetus. Is man incarnated as the fetus, right? The spirit coming in as the physical body as the fetus, represented as the physical dimension or your lower self. So with this hexagonal shape, they also call them Merkaba. If you look at it in a 3D form, this is what needs to happen in order for us to manifest anything on a higher vibration in this society. Masculine and feminine coming together. This is where the gateway comes, with to bring the spiritual dimension into the physical realm. This is where you manifest your thoughts, your heart's desires. Anything that you want has to have this figure. This figure is also the basic principle of all snowflakes. As you know, snowflakes Not everyone is different, but they all have this foundation. I forget the Japanese scientist. He did a study where he was able to freeze water instantly, and when he told the water you're ugly, when he cursed at the water created these type of images. No structure, no symmetry, no anything. So as you can see, there's nothing that can go through here. But when he's told the water, I love you, or I forgive you, or I'm grateful for you, the water created this type of pattern, right? The gateway. Remember, you are made up of over 70% water. So the first level of higher consciousness is the heart, which is love. This is where I always say love is not a feeling, it's a state of mind, it's consciousness. You cannot fall in love, you must rise to its level of consciousness. And this is what I'm talking about. Once you open your heart, you access the gateway in order to work your magic. Okay, so this is what has to be done. This is why the community is full of drugs, full of guns, full of liquor stores, full of fast food stores, everything loud, right? Everything to keep you from reaching the first level of higher consciousness, which is my heart. Because they know as long as they got you focused on food, clothing, shelter, avoiding danger, avoiding pain, that you'll never reach this level of consciousness. And this is where we need to be in order to save our community. And that's why they say love starts at home. You can't love someone else before you love yourself. It's a vibration, it's a frequency that can be attained. And people don't realize that the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So what's more important? What you think and what you feel, the logic of it, or that gut feeling that your heart tells you what you need to do? And we need to reconnect back to the heart by focusing on us as spiritual beings having a human experience, trying to learn lessons here and not being victims, but try to have some understanding of how can I be better for going through this situation that brings me fear or hurt. And once we can accept that, we can start opening these gateways and really start manifesting things in our community, but it starts with us first.
No doubt, definitely. I feel you on that one. Tell me something. When you was writing this book and looking at these laws of gender, the gender laws in the universe and across the board, and then you took it down to the relationship aspect, what was the foundation for the best type of relationships you found when it comes to the male and female dynamic? What are the key elements that are needed to create a good relationship? And obviously everyone's different, obviously everyone's driven by different things slightly, but what are the key foundations for you that you found are needed in the Black community when it comes to our relationships?
Yeah, great question, Brother Rich. What women and men need to understand, that the men set the foundation and consciousness of the relationship. Period. A man can take a lower conscious level woman and raise her to his status, but a woman cannot take a lower conscious man and raise him to her status. She can introduce to him, the resources and whatnot, but if that light is not coming from him, then whatever the relationship will only be based on his limitations. And we'll go back to the atom. We're talking about hydrogen, right?
Yeah.
So remember, this is the man. He gives out energy to the female, and the female reflects that energy back to him. And then she creates the reality of the union of the two. That's where it says a woman makes a house a home. Right? So she creates. So if the man's energy is not, and another thing is, it has to be still. Positive means to sit still, to have a strong foundation, right? Men cannot give out energy at an optimal level unless they're sitting still. We all know that when we ejaculate, we're not trying to run a marathon. We sit as still as possible to give out the most energy. So a man has to be still. In a metaphysical level, it means you have to have a foundation built on integrity, built on character, built on discipline, right? And once you have those things as a man, you can give that to a woman and direct her to come up with the reality that you both can have based on the man's consciousness. So that's one thing. I know a lot of ladies like, well, you know what? He's got good credit. He got good hair. He got a nice job. I can work with him. Don't really love. You can't work with him. What he got is what he got. Okay. So the foundation of all relationships are always based on the man's consciousness. Why you think the community is jacked up? Because the men are not there. The men are not putting in the work. We have a hard time overcoming our egos. Because of our slave history, because of our conditioning, we cannot look at ourselves objectively outside of ourselves. We have a really hard time with that. We avoid that to the fullest. So men need to open their hearts, like we were talking about. That's the best way to suppress the ego, is to be vulnerable, to be open, to be defensive, but to always be in a state of listening with your heart. You know, and that's hard for us to do because no one has taught us. We don't know this information. We're taught to be hard. The more harder we are, the more masculine we are, the more attractive we are, right? So now we go into relationships based on our primordial training of, I want someone who can protect and provide for me physically. So he looks good, he's got all the right acts, but his mind is not there. His mind is not there. And we as men go into relationships on a primordial level. Is she fertile? Can she bear children? Can she make a home? Right? That's on a subconscious level. We don't think of that. But we don't look at it as, where's her consciousness? Will she be there, support me? Will she always believe in me? Or will she destroy me? Will there be anything where she will try to, go up against me, so on and so forth? So we need to start picking our partners based on levels of consciousness and not a primordial subconscious view of, can he protect and provide, or is she fertile and can she bear children and support me in that? So we got to think of beyond those things. So we go to the chakra system, and this tells you where a person is based on according to what level of chakra they're on. So we start with the root chakra, which is the first one, and that's basically at your butt bone. Remember, chakras are just energy sources of consciousness that we embrace. That first level is the root chakra. It's the self-survival chakra. It's the one that I talk about where all you interested in is self-survival. It's the reptilian brain activation inside of us that says it's all about me, food, clothing, shelter, transportation, avoid pain, and avoid being compromised. Okay, so we all know people who are operating at that frequency. So to try to have a relationship with them, you got to know this is a reptilian. When things don't go right, they're going to cut and do what they have to do. It's self-preservation. We all know those types. Then you go to the second level, second chakra, which is the sacral chakra, which is located at the sexual organs. And these people are motivated by what feels good to them. The creative process has nothing to do with morals or values, but just how they feel, how something feels to them. And they always want it to feel good. They don't want to do the work, the hard work to get somewhere. So everything is always instant gratification. You can't build with these type of people, okay? Because they're very immature in that level because they're motivated by sensations and feeling good. So if you go into a relationship with that person, understand that as soon as things don't feel good, they out. Right? So we need to start recognizing these people. The third level is the solar plexus, the chakra. And this is where a person's fire and their desires and their addiction, it burns. You have a sun in you. So this is what this is a person's desires, their addictions, anything that motivates them. It could be either good or bad. It does not discriminate. It's usually lower level stuff of addictions, of desires, of passions, right? And a lot of women get these men confused with love because during sex, they're very passionate, expressive of how they feel. But as soon as that moment is over, they go back to the next one, you know, and they out. So the first level of higher consciousness, which we talked about, is the heart chakra, which is where love resides. Love is not jealous. Love doesn't keep records of wrongs. Love is just sufficient unto itself. It always wants to put other people ahead of itself. It'll die for other people. It will always be grateful. It will always show humility. Those are the things that are needed in our relationships. Not the me aspect of what can I do to help you, you know? So when you have a person like that, hold on to them, don't let them go. But that's the first level of higher consciousness where we need to start focusing on those aspects and not just the physical aspect or how much money they got or potential they have, but look at their heart. Because like we talked about Ma'at, she's not weighing your bank account. She's not weighing your wallet. She's not even weighing your brain. For you to go on to eternal life, you need to have a heart which is light as a feather. What does that mean? No jealousy, no grudges, no envy, and most of all, no fear. Because the opposite of love is not hate, it's fear. Because fear breeds lower level behavior and feeds the ego.
Okay. I want to ask a question, TC. Someone asked a question. They said, how do we feel as black people collectively to move forward?
Okay, that's a great question. I know it gets asked probably every show you get. What I tell people, it's an individual basis. There's not going to be another Malcolm. There's not going to be another Marcus Garvey. There's not going to be someone to mobilize the masses and we're going to go and we're going to get this. That is not going to happen. Revolution starts on an individual basis. You hold your own to the leader that you want to be, and the rest will come together, or like minds will start flocking together as we are here as brothers talking about this. So there is no movement outside of yourself, right? We live in a world where we think if I get something externally and add it to me, that I'll be better for it. That's the white man's thinking. That's Eurocentric ideology. We as black people are always thought addition by subtraction. What can I give up of myself in order to me to be stronger, get closer to myself, right? Over every doorway in Kemet temple was know thyself, because they knew that all the information, everything you needed was within you. But we always looking we always looking outside of ourselves for the answers, and they always have been in us. Remember, we are our own universe. We have our own sun, like I said. There's our own universe inside of us, which radiates after we reach a certain levels of consciousness. So if you want black people to come together in community and build and do all these great things, you need to start with yourself.
That's it.
Yeah. And there's another question. They're asking, how would they know if they're with the right partner in a spiritual sense?
Great question. You are always with the right partner. You are always with the right partner, because the universe is going to reflect who you are. It's going to always hold up the mirror to you. Now the question is, do you like what you see in the mirror? If you don't like what you see, change yourself and that partner will go away. You won't even have to chase them away or say it's over. They'll dissipate because you've raised your vibration, because you corrected that which was in you that the universe showed you outside of yourself, if that makes sense. So to know if you're always with the right partner until you say you're not with the right partner. So it's always your level of consciousness that is being reflected. Your partner is just holding up that mirror. If you're not happy, then you're not happy with yourself. If you're disappointed, then you're not disappointed with yourself. So as soon as you address those issues in you, that partner no longer reflects you and will be out of there, and a new reflection will come in.
Indeed. Reflection.
Okay, one more question. They said, hold on. If my woman is down, how I heal her in a spiritual way?
If his woman is what?
If his woman's in hurt, she's been through a lot of trauma, and he wants to give her the form of healing, how are we going to do that spiritual sense?
Okay, that's tough, because last few relationships I've been in, like I said earlier, I've tried to heal, and I've tried to put myself in a position to heal, but not at the expense of abusing myself. But we talk about the heart, right? The heart is where we need to be, right? But the thing is, the heart is no punk as well. And what I mean by that is, you're not supposed to keep your heart open if someone keeps abusing you because of past trauma that they had. Okay, what the heart will do will show a person's intentions towards you. That's why you leave it open. It's kind of like a truth serum when you in relationships, because that person will have to show their heart if you are operating from your heart. So once that person shows you who they are, what we don't do, we don't believe it. So we dismiss it and we keep going with the relationship. So I'm saying believe it. And for this man, right, that wants to heal his woman, remember, everything starts within. All you can do is provide an environment that's conducive for her with those issues. What do I mean by that? Remember, the relationship always starts with the man's consciousness. When you provide a woman an environment of safety, where she feels safe, where she feels that she is protected and provided for, then she's allowed to go into her sacred feminine and do her magic. But if she's still blocked from doing that after you've provided things for her, nothing you can do, until she finds out that it's all within her. All you can do is provide her with a place of safety, of protection, of provision, knowing that you're there, and that's it. And if she still does not respond to that, and only you will know how long you will stay in a relationship with someone who's broke. Some people, like my mother, stayed with my stepfather for 35 years with all his insecurities, with all his addictions, with all his abuse. But that's what she wanted to do. That's what she chose to do. So you can't judge people. That might have been her reason for being here, to give her life for someone who was less fortunate than herself. So it all depends on what your purpose is here. But all you can do is, again, provide that safety, provide that protection that she needs, and in order for her to reach her heart so that it can heal.
Okay. And there's another person, big up to Mr. Jordan, is love and feeling and everything we do, is it a feel?
Is it a feeling?
Yeah, is it a feeling? Might as well say yeah.
Yeah, like I stated earlier, I write this on most of my books. Let me see what I put. One cannot fall in love right? Remember, love is in the heart. It's a frequency that you can measure. So you can't fall in that. You have to rise to its level of consciousness. That means you have to overcome your lower self, the ego, and all those other things to reach this level of love. Okay? And then I say love is not a feeling, because feelings come and go. Feelings are, you know, like the weather. They change whenever you want. Love is constant when you are at that consciousness. So it's a state of mind. It's a mindset of how I view myself and the environment that I'm in by this love consciousness. Mind you, do we stay there all the time? Of course not. We live in a system of white supremacy. Is the goal to stay there? Yes. All the time. Every day, every waking hour, our goal is to stay at this level. But it'll fluctuate, right? But understand that love is not this Hollywood version of holding hands, walking through the flowers, you know, with butterflies singing and all this other garbage. Love is nothing to be played with. And if you're not ready to turn yourself inside out, if you're not ready to expose all your fears, all your traumas and insecurities, then don't even try to achieve love, because you're not ready for it. Love will turn you inside out, because its only responsibility is to itself, not your feelings or anything else.
Okay. And now we're in this what we call the reflection mode. Mr. Rich, so far, so much. We've heard so much information. We've been having daggers left, right, and center. What is your perspective of what you've heard today?
It's been a nice show so far. I've enjoyed the information. I think, first of all, starting with the black community and black empowerment, because that's what we try to do here at Black Eyes TV 7. The key element of today's show, as TC said earlier, is that it starts with the individual, and then your relationships, your household, your family structure, yeah, and then it spreads out from there. So again, I think that's one of the first key elements we have to understand. Again, it's that reflection of small to big, big to small, that string theory of how things work and how we reflect the universe and the universe reflects us. Yeah, understanding that connection, first of all, is key. And I definitely appreciate the way he explained it, and the examples, again, of that male-female synergy that goes on in all aspects of what we're doing every day. So, you know, I'm definitely feeling that. I still want to hear his opinion on the society and, you know, what we was talking about, again, on the gay aspect of one of the observations you made at the key timing when certain things seem to get ramped up, what your observation was on that. But other than that, again, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for the information you've given so far. It's been tidy. People in the chat room are loving it so far. Thumbs up. They're liking the vids. Please, again, like the vid. Get it out there. If possible, can you name the book and the books he has authored? Okay, someone's just asking, are there any other books you've written?
Yeah, there is. Actually, my second book is called Black Sun Rising, and that's SON, Black Sun Rising, The Reawakening of the Warrior DNA in Black Men. You can get that on Amazon or on my website as well, naturally, just like it sounds, Supa, SUPA.com, naturallysupa.com, or on Amazon. And I also wrote a children's book called Me and Pooh, Pooh spelled P-U, which is short for the Kemetic god Anpu, which the Europeans name Anubis. And he basically represents the activation of your melanin and your intuition to be able to guide you in life. So my son, when he was 8 years old, the book is based on him and him getting in trouble at home, not making his bed, getting cut from the basketball team, getting bullied at school, and he relies on his puppy Pooh to guide him to make the right conscious decisions in life. Just like our ancestors viewed Pooh guiding us to heaven once we transition into afterlife. So I got those three out: Secret Science of Black Male and Female Sex, Black Sun Rising, The Reawakening of the Warrior DNA in Black Men, me and Pooh. And when I come out there next year, I'm going to have at least 3 more titles for you. One breaking down the hidden meanings and symbols and images in Hollywood film, and another one related to magic is a law that has been forgotten, and getting back to that aspect of it. So I will have some more heat for y'all when I get back. Can't wait.
That's what I'm talking about. Can't wait as well. And yeah, look for us to be out there. We're coming to Oakland. We're gonna come up there.
Yes.
We want to do passports.
That's right. Let's go.
Get black.
And you know, and the funniest thing is as the family grows and it gets bigger. You know, Richie. He mentioned him knowing one of our anonymous on previous shows. A young lady, but we know her husband as Tahuti.
Okay, yes.
And they go into the health perspective of things.
That's right.
So he was just elaborating to us that how he knows her very well, and she may be open to joining the force that needs to be opened.
That's it.
No question.
You know, so in that perspective, as we would say, TC, you know, in all the stuff that you do and all the products, what would you say is your personal end goal?
End goal of the products?
Of you as TC Carrier personally.
Yeah, go ahead. What was the question? I didn't get it.
I said, what would you class as your end goal? What would you say you would like to have as a form of a legacy? Let's say from now to 5 generations in the future.
Okay.
What would you want to see TC Carrier as?
All right, good question. So let me get into how I got into this. When we're talking about law of gender, it was brought to my attention by experience that I had, and I met an African goddess. So back in 2009, I went to Ghana for 3 months to volunteer in a village, building a library and a well. So I was out there in the bush with the hut, the whole nine, and I was writing about African life and culture. And I had stacks of notebooks that I got to do something with this, because they all knew their roles. The women were women, the men were men, the children stayed their place as children, and they all worked in unison as one. And I really liked that, and I wanted to do something with that. Again, we're going back to African spiritual mystery system. They still there. It's just been suppressed, you know. So I get back that same day, again, being gone 3 months without my lady. So that first night, of course, we're going to have sex. So while having sex with her, when I ejaculated, I felt my spirit leave my body as well as my semen. Ended up in her womb. This is my spirit now, was in her womb. In her womb was a temple, right? I remember green grass at the bottom of my feet. It was soft and cool. I remember looking at the walls, and they were purple and blues, dark blues, indigo, ultraviolet. And then ahead of me, I saw this 10-foot golden throne with a figure sitting on it, like 25 feet tall. Long arms, long legs, long neck, kind of like the Somalian body type. There was a light behind her, so I can only see her silhouette. And she basically threw me up and started tossing me around in the air, playing with me, to show how insignificant I was in her realm, how small I was, how, you know, just she can play with me. So she said, don't write about anything else but the sex, the science of sex. You write about sex and you won't have to write about anything else. You write about this and I will take care of your every need. So come back to my body, come consciously again. My lady is still passed out. Concerned for her, it took about 5 minutes to revive her. She's fine, everything is fine. And from that, I was literally butt naked on the side of the bed after that experience, typing out the secret science of black male and female sex. So from that came, I got 5 other books now that are coming out, and they keep coming. Remind you, before this, I was not a writer. I'm not an author. I still have a hard time looking at myself as an author or lecturer or writer. This is information that was channeled to me, that was given to me. And I have a duty and a responsibility to serve this goddess. And because I serve her, I get protected and I get provided for. So from that book came the metaphysical products, right? Came all this other information, all these other topics based on this one principle, law of gender. So you ask me, what do I see myself or my legacy five generations from now? I just want to say, when I transition, that I serve the goddess to my full potential, because she won't let me rest, bruh. She keep coming with knowledge, she keep coming with info, and I'm like, I can't do nothing but to serve and get this information out.
So channel that.
Yeah. And you see, what everyone doesn't realize, our ancestors breathe through our DNA. And it's that DNA that empowers us. That's why we always say everything comes from within and gives us that channeling power to able to make what I always say. Anyone that has a chance, always hashtag power moves. Because when you make that power move, that's your ancestors talking, so that you can make that legacy for your future generations to pass on. So, Richie, have you got anything interesting or anything that you would like to ask? Because I know that head of yours is full of information.
He knows what I'm waiting to.
I know you're the Samson of the Bible.
That's one with the locks, yeah? Don't make me drop them down.
Yeah, we can't save them yet.
TC knows what I want him to discuss. That's the last thing I want to hear. Just what we was talking about.
Yeah. Okay. He wants to go back onto that same topic that we was talking about just earlier on, just to break it.
Okay, and if we could touch on computer simulation as well as it relates to law of gender.
Yeah,
I'm good. What you want, brother?
Deal with that in whatever order you see fit, brother. Yeah, me.
Okay. So the goddess showed me that this world is really a computer simulation. This is really a prison planet for the spirit to incarnate, to get the lessons that we need so that we can move on to other dimensions, higher frequencies, right? So she says to me, you created yourself in the spiritual realm. Just like a video game, you can create your player. You created your player to look like this, to have the genetic makeup that you do, to be in LA and have the parents that you had, because you knew that that genetic information and that environment was best conducive for you to transition to higher realms after you pass on here. You have to define yourself through 2 ways. Remember, we're talking about higher and lower self. You are either a user or you are a player. Remember, in a video game, the user creates the player. So basically, me, the user, my higher spiritual self, created the player, my physical body, to go into this game, to learn the lessons I need so that I can move on. She says the idea is not to win the game. The idea is to escape the game. Kind of like we're talking like the Matrix, right? Because what happens when you win a video game? You win it, you go through all the levels, you're done. What happens after you win?
Credits. You're out.
It, it goes credits, it goes out, and then it starts over again, correct?
Yeah, that's it. Reset.
It'll start over again.
Yeah.
So there is no winning this game. You are only here to learn your lessons to escape it. Right? So we need to define ourselves by the user in us, which is the feminine, which is the spirit, which the users is the higher consciousness, which starts at the heart. Remember, spiritual beings having a physical experience, and not as a player, which is what we define ourselves as, physical beings having spiritual moments, only motivated by food, shelter, clothing, transportation, and lack of pain and fear. Right? So again, it's still based on this law of gender, on how you view yourself. So you also create an avatar, right? And I looked into what's an avatar, right? That's you, the spirit, going into the body to play this game. And the avatar, let me see, I wrote it down, is a manifestation of a deity or released soul in bodily form on earth, an incarnate divine teacher. So you are your own divine teacher, but you just forgot when you came into the game, you forgot all consciousness that you put yourself here, you put yourself in this position to play this game. One thing about the game, it senses fear. That's why it keeps the black community in this low level vibration. Because when you fear, it senses. And what happens? The game gets harder. I don't know all y'all age, but I'm pretty older. We had a game called Donkey Kong.
Yeah, man.
Y'all know that game? Yeah. So you Mario, you're supposed to jump the barrels to get up the levels to save the princess. Right? So there's always a code with these games. If you show no fear and no hesitation, you can literally go all through the levels and straight up without ever getting hurt. But once you hesitate, when a barrel comes and you jump and then you hesitate going, what happens in the game?
They start stacking them barrels, yeah?
Man, they start sending all them barrels to you and you don't have a chance. Same with this game here. If you live this game in fear, you're going to trigger the game to send everything that you fear out your way. When you walk out on faith, right? When you walk out with no fear and say, I'm going to make this happen and I'm willing to die for it, that's when the magic happens. And that's when what we need to get as a community to realize, this is just the game. This is just a simulation. You don't have to go to that 9 to 5. Your user part of you put you in here not to play a game within a game, but so that you can get the lessons so you can escape this game. This is a prison planet for the soul. That's why we control by gravity. Root word is grave. It's for dead souls. Once you build enough vibration and frequency, you can overcome gravity and move on to other dimensions. So in the aspects of the law of gender, define yourself by your higher self, your feminine, and not your lower self or the ego or the masculine. And that's one way you can not win this game, escape it.
So what was the question you was asking for again, Richie?
It was back to our personal conversation, bringing it to light about the timing of society and the reflection of certain modes, whether it's the homosexuality, just the depravity levels and what that signifies generally in society. I just wanted you to go a little bit on those levels. Okay.
Well, again, we are ruled by white supremacy. He defines what is right. He defines what's appropriate, and we follow. A big misnomer was that there was homosexuality in Europe, which is not true. Homosexuality there wasn't even a name for that. As long as the white man was the dominant act in performing sex, then anything goes. Whether it's with another man, whether it's with a woman, whether it's with a boy or a girl or an animal, as long as that white man was the aggressor and the one that was in control, then everything was good to go. So he did not even separate gender species. As long as he was on top and being the aggressor in this violent act, then he's seeing no problem with that. So that's another thing that we get. This homosexuality thing didn't just pop up. This is a mindset that they have, right? Now they're just trying to include it in the human family, which he never belonged to in the first place. So the first sign of civilizations crumbling is always with the introduction, or mostly I should say, the introduction of this Eurocentric ideology. Remember, we come from African spiritual systems, which states that we are the manifestation of the Creator, which the white man says, I'm a product of the Creator, right? There's difference. It's always a counter, right? We say we are, what's the Ashanti saying? I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. Individual, and I will dominate, right? We are holistic and inclusive. He puts things in boxes, right? So it's the total opposite. So what happens when the two worlds collide, right? Usually it's easier to hate than it is to love. It's easier to be afraid than it is to overcome. So when he comes in us with this ideology, that is when our civilizations and our worlds start to crumble. And of that crumbling, well, not the first sign, but one of them is the homosexual population grows in that society. If you look throughout history, especially with people of color introduced, the homosexual population grew. It's not even close. It went from non-existent to now, being existent and being counted on. So we have to understand that. That's not me saying this as I believe. When you go throughout history and you look, the introduction of his mindset, his ideology, remember, goes against our spiritual concepts. So now we start to produce lower level behavior and ideology. In Kemet, they have the God Set, and the God Set always represented miscommunication, always represented chaos. He was hell, he was Satan, or he was what they call the devil. Hell is not a place, it's a state of mind. The state of mind of chaos, of miscommunication, things that feed the ego. The ego, remember, is only interested in self-survival. So now you communicate with people with your own best interests and always in a state of fear. And this is what creates these subcultures in a so-called culture, such as homosexuality and these other things that come from miscommunication because it does not follow the one law, the law of gender. So that's a tall tale sign of a culture or a people or a civilization that's under duress or on the decline.
That's all. Lovely.
Okay.
Lovely. I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, just wanted to tell the audience, thank you for watching. But we've got loads of other programs that are going to be coming up. Richie, I just wanted you to inject. Do we have something coming up on Monday? I believe.
Monday, Kings and Queens.
Okay.
Is that what we're talking about? Kings and Queens?
It may be Kings and Queens. I think so.
I do believe we will be having two sisters on to start talking about their escapades with the organization Kings and Queens. They're dealing in relationships and other stuff, and they have a few events coming up. So we should have them on the show. We should have another show coming up as well with Uncle Ket from the Arm & Ra squad as well, stateside. So look out for that one. There was something else. That's right. There's a lot of speak right now about the circle, the black circle that's going on down at Speaker's Corner. Big up to Raspek. Yeah, on that one.
At the moment, they've got a show going on the Raspek channel, which is to do with the mental health, man, that I can just see. Okay. So they're going in on the youth level and pushing their narrative, and hopefully we can all combine and come together on a specific topic of where we're going from here. And as well as we've got another aspect of, we're going to be going on the narratives of economics once again, where we're going to be talking with Dean Oki, Victoria, a lady called Lola, and a few others, where we're going to be going in on about that Bitcoin, about economics, and where we're going to get that credit union and whatsoever.
Don't forget,
and then there is
Watkins videos that are up on the channel, people. Go and check it out. Big up to HMP TV again for that. Boyce Watkins in the house. Terry Riggs was in the building with himself. So yeah, go and have a look at that. Economics,
and
again.
Which they will be coming back next year. So look out for the event, as well as Anthony Browder, who will be coming with his daughter. And that's going to be another big one, but that one will be up in Manchester, where we'll be probably arranging a coach to go to Manchester from London, and we're going to represent from the London crowd in Manchester. So look out for that. And, you know, we still got the People's Versus with their event coming soon. And then we've got what we call the core. We're going to keep on traveling around the world and back, as they call me, the UK tour guide to the rest of the world. So, in that note, yes, Richie, fire away.
Boy, again, just want to say big up to the people for watching today. Yeah, tuning in, supporting Black Ice TV as always. Yeah, thank you. I want to say big up to our guest, Mr. TC Carrier.
His birthday's coming up soon.
Man, your birthday today, bro.
No, half an hour.
Big Terry.
Half an hour.
Half an hour. Okay. Countdown is ticking.
That's all.
This is my champagne. A bottle of water.
That's my Scorpio brother. Scorpio's in the house, for real.
Yeah, we're running it. We're running Richie out.
Virgos are still in this bit.
Virgos, okay. Thank you, brother Richie. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate both of y'all, man. Y'all like my people in UK. You all like my family. So much love, so much respect. Keep doing what you're doing. Well needed in the community. I couldn't have picked two nicer guys to meet when I was over there. And man, whatever y'all need, both y'all.
That's all. This is all about the economical system. As I always say, buy black, buy black, buy black. Go to every black store, do that power move. Hashtag power moves. Make a move. Go into the shop, even if it's something small. Go and buy black. Anquo Bean, Nata Vital, you name it. Even if you have to go to an event and you see someone that has a stall and it's a black man or a black woman, just buy something. It can be 10 pence. It could be £1. It could be just buy something. That is your legacy for the day. Do something every day. Buy something of somebody. When you see a friend that's saying buy some veggies on their stall, just buy one. Because that is a contribution to our economical system. So keep on buying black, think black, believe in black, because black is the beginning of life.
Easy, you done know, yeah? And again, go check out all the videos, all the shows. You can see a nice in-depth interview with our boy here, TC Carrier, from when he was over here on the Kings and Queens book tour. You can see videos with Boyce Watkins. You can see the team over in America at the Unity Conference with Sarnea, Bubba, Ruse, Professor Smalls, all sorts of people. So please support the channel, like it, subscribe. You understand? Come on, like.
And share this.
That's it.
This one here. Share all of them. Let's make everything go viral.
That's it. Furthermore, and for Terry's birthday, anybody that knows Mr. Riggs, yeah, just for his birthday, you should be sharing this video. Just for his birthday, you should be.
Show your love. Show your love. That's what it's about.
Yeah. If I don't see another 100 subscribers, I know he's Johnny No Mate. Yeah.
Exactly. No one loves me out here. That means after I'm giving all the love, but I don't receive the love because you need to show the love.
Tell them. Tell them. Tell them. Tell them. But listen, people, again, thank you for tuning in. This is another Black Eyes TV Productions signing out. Yeah, we will be seeing you soon. Watch this space as always. Peace, peace, peace.
Love.